Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Another beautiful day, it looks like, on tap here in the Ozarks. Weather so far has been pretty mild. We had a cold front kind of move through. I don't mean like really cold, but a cold front moved through a couple of days ago, and it's been surprisingly mild. Not too bad. A little warm during the day, but the evenings have really dropped down in temperature. I think it's the lower humidity is what we're dealing with right now, affecting that. Well, these protests and riots are growing, and I've been warning about that for a couple of weeks. That I thought that leading up to this January 14th parade, that we were going to start seeing more and more widespread, and that is exactly happening. And they're becoming more violent. Not all of them yet. But they are becoming more violent, and they are hitting American cities all over the place. And I think that it's probably going to get worse, and that we need to be getting ready. There is, I think that there's more going on than just protests, riots, and a parade. I think we're leading up to something much bigger, some type of crackdown. There's a war on American streets right now. And when I say that, there has been that level of violence. Small, but still that level of violence. And so could this spiral out of control to the point that it is a civil war? Could it be that the movie that came out last year that so many people have talked about, that was, predictive programming, could be some kind of truth to it? I've been saying the last couple of days that I felt that Gavin Newsom, as much as myself and many of you can't stand the guy, was going to become this kind of leader of that. Well, of course, it came out yesterday in the news. They're calling Gavin Newsom the leader of the opposition movement. He's that new leader. He's going to be the one that's going to save America from, Trump and the conservatives. It's kind of a joke, but it is what they're saying. So I think we need to be pretty serious about this. I know that and I'm the same way. We want to look at this and say, listen, we've already lived through this kind of stuff just a few years ago with the BLM stuff. We survived that. Yes, some people that lived right close to those riots, had some damage, maybe injuries. There was even a little loss of life in some of them. But overall, we made it through that, right? And I know that many of us want to think that that's what's going to happen this time. And it may, hopefully. But I think that there's a lot more stuff going on involved, and the possibility that this become way bigger than that, way bigger than the Rodney King, LA riots, way bigger than that. I think it's there. I'm not saying it will happen. I think that there's the ingredients are there, and that we should be seriously ready in ourselves. As of this morning or last night, there have been, let me see, I wrote them down, so I didn't count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 cities that I was able to confirm pretty solidly that there was some kind of protest and riot. Not all of these were really violent. I'm going by video footage and what you would consider fairly confirmed reports. There were, a few internet postings of another city here or there, but I couldn't find anything to kind of verify that. But these things are getting big. I'll just read them. Obviously, LA, Santa Ana, San Francisco, San Diego, New York, Chicago, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Minneapolis, Denver, Atlanta, Boston, Tampa, Omaha, and Phoenix are the ones that are confirmed. There were some reports in St. Louis, I think Tallahassee and stuff, but I couldn't find anything to confirm that. And it's, like I said, it's just getting started. At the same time that this stuff is going on, we've got tanks and troops and equipment being rolled into Washington, D.C., so there's lots of footage of that. And, of course, that's the parade, but there's already so many people talking about it. Isn't this such a strange coincidence that this is all happening at the same time? And is this military equipment going to be used for something else? Is it ever going to leave Washington, D.C.? You know, is this parade a cover to get all this military equipment in D.C. so that it can just stay there and protect D.C. from whatever? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But I can tell you that it is strange. An unlawful assembly was declared in Denver last night. It got that bad. In Atlanta and Chicago, there were IEDs used. There was actually one video of one being thrown in a vehicle and exploding, the vehicle blowing up and catching fire. Small devices like homemade hand grenades in LA, and there's footage of this where the rioters were actually in gunfights with police. And I'm not talking rubber bullets or paintball. They were flat out guns drawn, shooting down the streets and stuff. The governor of Texas has called up the Texas National Guard because of riots in Austin and Dallas have gotten out of control. New York City, the footage coming out of New York looks quite bad. I'd say that may be the next city to start to see some kind of National Guard presence there. And there's been an additional 2,000 troops called up in California. So right now, there are about 4,800 American troops on the ground in California, which makes that more troops than the United States has in both Syria and Iraq combined. Now, for those of you that are, my age or so, just that right there. I mean, it's been, I know that we've been reducing our troop presence in those two nations, but for the last few decades, we've all known of having many troops in that area. And so for us to have more troops actively on the ground, armed, that's pretty significant. There was, and I'm not saying that this is wrong, right, constitutional, unconstitutional, anything. I'm just saying that the optics of it. Yesterday there's footage in California where they were arresting illegals. ICE was doing that, and they were being backed up by the National Guard, fully kitted out with weapons. They appear to be loaded. And so to see American troops on the ground in a police fashion, even if it is, to arrest illegals, I think that reality is starting to hit home with a lot of people more. Some people are taking the side of this is too much aggression, this is wrong, this is illegal, unconstitutional. And the other side is I think, seeing this as, wow, this is, we've got American troops on the ground in the United States armed, rounding up illegals. So whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, there's a lot going on here right now. And whether you want to pick a side or just stay neutral, the fact is that we need to be preparing ourselves. I think that there's more to come, because here's the thing. If in fact the Trump administration is going to do what they say that they're going to do, which is round up millions of illegals, this is just getting started. I don't know the exact number of how many have been rounded up so far, but nowhere near the amount that's here. I mean, we're talking, a few thousands. So if this continues, like they say it's going to round them all up, we're in this for a long haul, and we're going to see more and more troops, federal agents, these roundups. It's a lot. And so, so it's not, what I'm saying is, it's not like they're going out and they're getting some fugitives and, in a week or two, they'll have everything rounded up for the most part, and things will start cooling off because they're not rounding up as many. They're just getting started. So this could happen, last for years. It would. I mean, the numbers show that. They would have to be doing this for several years to round them all up. And so the violence, the protest, the chaos is just getting started too. And I think we need to be aware of that. We need to be getting ready. Because I think the ingredients that are happening indicate that it's more likely for things to continue to get out of hand than it is for things to at some point fizzle out and cool off. As long as Trump is president, the far left, people on the ground, they hate him, and they hate the actions that have happened. There's many things on their list that they have to be angry about right now. And yeah, I think we're going to see it. And yes, I understand that a lot of these protesters are paid. There's been things floating around of ads being run online, trying to get people to, but I don't think that every one of them are. I mean, that'd be pretty extreme. But yeah, there's definitely people out there getting paid, but there's just a lot of people that are angry. They're angry because, the left and the leftist ideology was winning, right? Was winning under Biden. You were getting to do what you want and behave, however. And then now that's changed. People are getting kicked out of the, military because they're trans. There's, all this kind of stuff has changed. And so the emotional, the hatred there, it's high. And so the possibility of things spiraling are high too. And so we need to be getting ready. You need to, and I know you're saying, oh, I'm already ready. I've been prepping. I've been stocked up. That's not what I'm talking about. You've done good with your stockpiles. You've done good with your setting yourself up maybe as a homestead or whatever. You've done good with your training and learning skills. Now it's time to get ready to put them into action. That's what I'm saying. Now it's time to get that kind of ready. You should consider yourself, existing in a combat zone. Not all of us do. I get that. But the way things are spiraling fast, and some of these places that violence is popping up are not big mega cities. It's not going to be. It's going to be a good idea for you to be able to defend yourself. Stay armed. Have plans of how to get out of where you're at. Don't go into places that look suspicious. Stay on top of what's going on, in your town. Maybe there's local news or some kind of Facebook group or some type of way to get local updates. If you hear of, protests and violence happening, probably be a good idea to stay away from those areas. I know that there's going to be some people that want to get out there and counter protest against them. I can't tell you yes or no, other than I don't think it's a good idea. I think that's what they're hoping for. This could get very serious, folks. It has all the makings of being very serious. It has all the makings, I think, of being way more serious than the BLM riots and the Summer of Love. So we need to be preparing ourselves for what is happening and what's to come. And then the whole Washington, D.C. parade, I think that there's a good chance that that's just going to exacerbate the whole situation, not just in D.C., but everywhere. And, when the news is showing, cameras are rolling, showing this parade, and there's protesters, and there's, parades going on, and they're trying to wrestle protesters to the ground and arrest them. And the optics are going to look very, very chaotic. It's going to look like, America has fallen. And you need to prepare yourselves for that. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.